mean in other countries everyone can own homes because they're not paying $2,000 a month in rent, or that their mortgages aren't like their entire paycheck? What do you mean?
So, I look like absolute hell. But I wanted to come on here and say that my heart is literally breaking for our country and for the people in it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back onto my YouTube channel. My name is Joseph Malika. Kindly, if you haven't subscribed onto my channel, remember to subscribe, like, share, and also comment. So guys, on today's video we are going to see the white Americans who have come up publicly crying because of the hardship they are going through into their country. You have seen some of them coming up asking for help from the black Americans. But we can remember during Trump's manifestos, some of the manifestos were really hard onto the black Americans, where the black Americans came up protesting, saying that the manifestos are not favorable onto them, and the whites came up saying that all what Donald Trump is saying is right and will really help them. But now the tables has turned down. They are now crying, asking for help from the black Americans. So guys, watch this video up to the end and I'll back with more comments.
For this, because I've reached the part in this whole like class consciousness part where I'm just filled with the most impotent rage, and like I'm talking that white hot, I need to sink my teeth and into something and scream kind of rage. Because what do you mean that it never had to be this hard for us? Like, what do you mean in other countries they don't have to spend 20% of their paycheck on groceries? What do you mean in other countries everyone can own homes because they're not paying $2,000 a month in rent, or that their mortgages aren't like their entire paycheck? What do you mean that people in China work one job and they don't even work 40 hours and they can easily afford their life? And then I'm over here working 60 hours a week, just me as a single parent, to like barely make ends meet, and I'm penny pinching every single second, and like there's so much of life that my kid misses out on and that I miss out on because of money and like work and no social support net. And you mean to tell me that it didn't have to be like this? They keep us in these chains on purpose, and it never had to be like this. Like, I did everything right. I went to college. I had to drop out of college to take care of my mom when she was sick because, again, no social services, like no safety nets. My dad worked his whole life and died and left everything to my mom. My mom was disabled and she lived on credit, and like she barely made ends meet, and she did everything she was supposed to. And I did everything I was supposed to, and it just keeps getting worse. It was never supposed to be like this. And I'm so angry that it is. Because what do you mean? I've spent so much of my life working so hard to scrape by, and it never had to be like that. My suffering was at the expense of someone else becoming wealthy because they could. And I am so angry about this. It can't stay like this. It doesn't have to stay like this.
So, I look like absolute hell. But I wanted to come on here and say that my heart is literally breaking for our country for the people in it. I just had to walk out of a restaurant because she stood there trying to tell me that everything happening was the fault of Joe Biden. This person, and I'm not going to name him, this person who talks about God all the time, goes to church regularly, and voted for that thing. And that is what he is. He's not human. And if we want to get biblical, then maybe we are in the end times, because I do believe he and Musk are the Antichrist. They tried to raid an elementary school today in Chicago. ICE. They tried to raid it. Thankfully, the school wouldn't let them come in. But they tried. Those are children. Those are babies. They also have taken down the government website for reproductive rights. That's great. Let's just go ahead. What does it matter? Apparently we don't matter. My children are living in a world with fewer rights than I had. This cannot stand the way it is. We have got to stand together in unity and not back someone who would demand an apology and belittle a bishop for saying nothing more than please have mercy on those who need it. I am so upset. What am I supposed to do with my friends and my family who voted for him, who have put us in this position? They're saying they're going to defund the Department of Education. Well, there goes my job. I'm just a lowly little art teacher. You think they're going to keep art around when it goes back to the states? I work in a little high-poverty rural school. My job won't be there for me. It won't, because that'll be one of the first things they cut when they lose their funding. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a terrible video, and I'm ugly crying on it. But we have got to make some changes, because this is not my America, and he is not my president. This world can't stand the way it is. It can't. So all us little people, we have got to figure it out. We've got to get together, and we've got to stand up for what's right. Because it's coming. It's coming. War is coming. And like I said, I can't talk to my best friend right now because I know that's how she voted. She's been my best friend since 1989. And I can't talk to her. And I got up today and I walked right out of that restaurant. Because she could sit there and tell me that this is the work of Democrats. This is not about that. This is about doing what is decent. About doing what is compassionate. About having some humanity in this world. Do we not think that this world is hard enough? It is hard to live. And it just got exponentially worse. So if anybody's got any advice on how to deal with our MAGA friends and family, I don't know that we should just cut ties. I don't know. We're supposed to be kind and compassionate and caring, and that doesn't seem like a very kind and caring thing to do. But I'm at a loss. I won't set foot in the church. I won't. Because most of them sitting there are hypocrites. You're going to sit there and listen to scripture and then be behind kicking all these immigrants out. And, we learned about Ellis Island in elementary school. Jesus said for us to love everyone. This is not how Jesus would act. So if you're calling yourself a Christian, you need to really sit there and evaluate what you're doing in this world. Because this ain't it. This ain't it.
I mean, I didn't think he was going to do all that. I wouldn't have voted for him if I knew he was going to do all that. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? No. He said he was going to do it. He spent how many years saying he was going to do exactly this? He stood on stage every night for 2 hours at a time. 2 hours at a time. He was dropping a Netflix special every day. Was he reusing material? Yes, because he said he was going to do the same stuff over and over and over again. His biggest fans, his best friends, they wrote a book. They said, not only is he going to do this, we're going to tell him to do this. We're going to tell him to do it on this exact date. It's our little project together. It begins in 2025. And what you say? That feels made up. Nah, you just made that up. I do my own research. You don't do research. You don't do anything. You complain in comment sections. Most of you aren't even real. I can tell. Half of you are AI chatbots trying to get me to click on a sneaky link. No, you're right. The baby said I should just focus on what I can do at home. Yeah, we're going to do that.
Fucked around with your vote? Now it's time you found out. Am I the asshole for cutting off my sons financially after they voted for Trump? I, 52 male, have 2 sons, Isaac, 22 male, and John, 20 male. My wife and I have always leaned left politically, and we've raised our kids to value equality, compassion, and critical thinking. We've had countless family discussions about politics and the impact of policies on people's lives. So you can imagine my shock when I found out after this last election that both of my sons voted for Trump. It came out during a casual family dinner when I asked, "So, who'd you guys vote for?" expecting them to either dodge the question or name one of the candidates aligned with our values. Isaac shrugged and said, "Trump. His policies just make the most sense right now." John chimed in, "Yeah, I mean, he's about protecting the economy. People like us need someone who gets that." I stared at them, stunned. "People like us?" I asked. "Boy, you've never paid for a single tank of gas, let alone rent or tuition. What exactly do you mean by that?" Isaac rolled his eyes. "Dad, I'm studying business. Trump's pro-business. It's not that deep." "It's plenty deep," I snapped. "You're backing someone who's gutted protections for the environment, undermined health care, and actively targeted marginalized communities." John shook his head. "You're just looking at the negatives. He's strong on immigration and keeping jobs here." The conversation spiraled into a heated debate. I couldn't understand how they, having grown up with every advantage I could provide, could support someone who champions policies that harm so many people. That night I thought about how much my wife and I had sacrificed to give them opportunities. I worked extra hours to cover their tuition so they wouldn't have student loans. I paid for their gas, car insurance, and even groceries. And this is what they choose to do with that privilege? A few days later, I told them my decision. "If you want to support Trump's policies, you should also live by them," I said. "From now on, you'll need to cover your own tuition, rent, and living expenses. Maybe then you'll understand the real-world impact of the policies you are endorsing." Isaac was furious. "Are you serious, Dad? You're just cutting us off because we disagree with you politically." "It's not about disagreement," I said firmly. "It's about accountability. You voted for someone who's against student loan forgiveness. So take out loans. You support someone who doesn't believe in raising the minimum wage. So get a job that pays what it pays and figure it out. John looked hurt. You're being petty. This isn't how you change someone's mind. This isn't about changing your mind, I replied. It's about giving you a dose of reality. FAFO ain't just some cool hashtag you and your little friends use. It means there are consequences to your actions. Political choices have consequences. You're adults now. It's time to act like it. You fucked around with your vote. Now it's time you found out. My wife thinks I'm being too harsh. She worries this will damage our relationship with them long term. She said, they're young. They're still figuring out their beliefs. Beliefs have consequences, I told her. They made a choice. Now they'll learn what that choice means. Some of my friends agree with me, saying it's a fair wake-up call. Others think I'm letting politics come between family and being unnecessarily cruel. So, am I the asshole for cutting off my sons financially because of their political choices? You know, you got a good point. I don't think you're the asshole. I think you're going to let them find out what they fucked around with, their vote. And voting has...
Baby, my For You page is popping today. It is full of beautiful, melanated black people letting white people know why they have it so much better in China. Letting white people know why you can't afford a home, why you can't afford insurance. Beautiful, black, melanated people are letting white people know we can't have nice things because of your racism. White people been over there on that Red Note app and they are sick. They are learning that Americans have been living in squalor. White people are sick. They are learning that for 400 years, black people lived in slavery. But in 2024, they are realizing that they are too slaves. They are sick. They are twisted. Listen, when Donald Trump came out and said, why do we keep getting people from these shithole countries? My response was, bitch, America is the shithole country. And white people are learning the truth. For the past 4 years, they've been fighting woke. And the Red Note app, Xiang Hong Shu, has made them the wokest people of 2025.
All the white people going on Xiaohongshu and they're like, oh my God, China, they have everything. Their food is cheap. They have good schools, blah, 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 blah. Why don't we have that? Racism. It's because of racism, babe. Yeah. And post-Reconstruction era South, after those traitors lost the Civil War, the South was devastated. This is just an example. The South was devastated. Like, in every way you could think of. The Northern troops had burned their farmland. They had blown up railroad tracks so you couldn't transport anything. They liberated all the enslaved people. They had burned their houses to the ground, okay? The South was... it was so bad. Northern newspapers were sending down photographers to take photos, to take photographs. And they were going back up north, and the editors and photographers were selling little books to other Northerners, like poverty corn. That's how bad the South was after the Reconstruction era. Oh, after the Civil War, or the Reconstruction era. Do you know what white Southerners' primary concern was? Not housing and feeding and clothing their families, not trying to rebuild their economy. No. It was making sure they inflicted massive physical, mental, and economic terror on formerly enslaved people in the South. That was their modus. That was their modus operandi. That was very important to them. More important than rebuilding their economy was harassing black people. And that's just an example of the centuries white people have spent cutting off their own toes just so we don't have anything. But the gag is, now you don't have anything either. We don't have anything, but neither do you. And that's why we don't have nice things. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Like, what do you mean in other countries they don't have to spend 20% of their paycheck on groceries? What do you mean in other countries everyone can own homes because they're not paying $2,000 a month in rent, or that their mortgages aren't like their entire paycheck? What do you mean that people in China work one job and they don't even work 40 hours and they can easily afford their life? And then I'm over here working 60 hours a week, just me as a single parent, to like barely make ends meet, and I'm penny pinching every single second, and like there's so much of life that my kid misses out on and that I miss out on.
I'm just cut it off right there. Dry up them fucking crocodile tears, Sarah. I don't care. I don't care. You know why I don't care? Because this is white people's fault. This is white people's fault. And now y'all want to boo-hoo and cry because y'all done got on that Chinese app and they done put the Uno reverse card on y'all ass and held up that mirror and told y'all, no, y'all are the brokies. Not us. We not the brokies. It's y'all. And y'all got to face the cold, hard reality that y'all have made this bed and now y'all got to sit in it. No, take accountability. Don't sit here and boo-hoo and cry and get on the TikTok and talk on the internet talking about what are we going to do? What are we going to do? No, what are y'all going to do? Because black people have been telling y'all for fucking decades. We have been protesting. We have been doing everything for all these fucking decades. And y'all have sat back and reaped the rewards thinking y'all was a part of the club because y'all was white. Y'all thought this shit was about race. No, it's always been about class. And y'all were never a part of the club. Y'all make up 60% of this country's population. There's no we. It's y'all. Every minority could vote or go against something or go for something that we know is good for the people. And y'all would turn it down because y'all have the overwhelming majority. So it's no we, it's y'all. Fix y'all shit. I know y'all don't like to take accountability for nothing, but now it's time. Y'all over there boo-hooing crying because y'all seeing the Chinese Walmart and they over there paying $3 for a whole goddamn bag of groceries. Meanwhile, you got to pay $200 and barely fill up your grocery cart. See, all those things you're boo-hooing and crying about, FDR made that happen. But then it all went away in 1967. Why did I say 1967? What does that correlate to? Oh, the Civil Rights Act was passed. Integration happened. And then white people stripped away or voted against themselves to strip away all public services and entities and all those great things that y'all had prior to integration because y'all didn't want black people to have the shit. So y'all gave all that up in the 1980s when Reagan created trickle-down economics because y'all didn't want us to have. He gave us crack and trickle-down economics. And y'all was cool with that. Y'all made a deal with the devil and now y'all got to accept the consequences of y'all fucking actions. Y'all had affordable housing. Y'all didn't have fucking credit scores. Y'all didn't have you could send your kids to college for the free or for the low. We had advanced and effective public transit and services in this country. But y'all gave all of it away because y'all didn't want niggas to have access. Y'all fought so hard with things like redlining and all these different things to hold black people back to keep us from getting a piece of the pie. Whole time they taking y'all pie. And now y'all got to face the music. And now you want to boo-hoo. Y'all let them pass the Patriot Act in the act of protecting us from terrorists. Use that Islamophobia against y'all dumbass. Y'all let them further push the Patriot Act in 2019 because of that the immigration that y'all was so afraid of, all the immigrants, right? Just taking away all y'all fucking right. Now y'all want to point and what are we gonna do? No, what are y'all gonna do? Because when black people out here marching for police brutality, who they just do things to us and write a fake ass police report and get away with it and nothing happens. You think, or when we did ride, when things like Mike Brown, Trayvon Martin happened, and the original Black Lives Matter activists, the original movement that got hijacked, you know what I'm saying? The original activists that was out there on the ground got took out by the police. Oh no, y'all ain't say nothing then. When we telling y'all that they're interfering in our freedoms and our rights, but no, it's black people, so we ain't. It's not us, it's them. Well, I'm not. I should have to pay for the sins of my fathers. I didn't own any slaves. I'm not racist, yes, but you're compliant to the system and you're complacent and you're okay with the system that gave you an edge up against us. Go back to R. Kelly or the things that was going on at Nickelodeon or with Harvey Weinstein, all that weird shit, right? There were people still giving up their kids to that, selling they, making deals, still going up there knowing everything that was going on, putting their children, putting their livelihoods, cameramen, people going to get opportunities and jobs. They did not care so long as it wasn't them. And that was y'all this entire time up until now. Go back and look at the prequel to The Purges. Where did they start? Where did they start? How did they get people to approve some shit like The Purge? They started in the hood. They started with black people. They started with the disenfranchised. So when y'all turn a blind eye and y'all let that shit go on with black people and we getting our ass whipped by police and we getting our rights taken away and we getting profiled and we getting this, and they're slowly implementing that shit and they were slowly draining that shit from y'all. It look like, come on, bruh. You would have thought y'all would have woke up when that shit happened in North Carolina and that hurricane went up there and fucked them up. But no, what did they turn into? Oh, well, it's Biden. Whole time North Carolina is a red fucking state. Oh, like your local governments fucking failed y'all. So no, there's no, what are we gonna do? No, it's what y'all gonna do. Grab y'all fucking nuts and go do something. Because we, black people, we tired of being y'all fucking crash dummies and going out there and then they give y'all a little piece of the pie, then y'all go back and y'all let us out there to fucking drown. No, y'all go do something.
Oh, and never forget, we could have had Bernie, but y'all said he was a socialist.
So I just saw a post where a young white woman is upset and crying because she's understanding how easy they have it in China. And she doesn't understand why, as Americans, we have to work so hard just to have so little. She doesn't understand why we're spending 20% of our income on groceries. And she goes on to list a lot of problems. And she's like, it didn't need to be this hard. What do you mean we didn't have to do it like this? And I started to empathize with her, but then in the back of my mind, I thought, girl, this isn't new. Why is this new to you? And then I realized for quite some time, a lot of white people in this country, the issues that black people had, they thought they were just black people issues. When black people were spending 20% of their income on groceries, white people thought, oh, that's a black people problem. When black people had to work 2 jobs to make ends meet, white people thought, that's unfortunate. And now that the black people's problems have reached white people have hot tears and they don't understand how it came to be this way. Now, this is one of the reasons why it's important in any country or any place to listen to those who are marginalized. Those people are kind of like a canary in the coal mine, letting you know, hey, we got some issues. You can't see it and maybe it's invisible to you, but they are on the way. I just saw a post where a young white woman is upset and crying because she's understanding how easy they have it in China. And she doesn't understand why, as Americans, we have to work so hard just to have so little.
Racism would be the answer. So this all goes back to what they call drained pool politics. Once integration became the law of the land with cases like Brown v. Board, a lot of white people moved to get rid of public services and goods like swimming pools. And that meant they had fewer resources. They had fewer third places. And it was fine back in the day because they would just pay. They would pay to go to country clubs, which is why there's a proliferation of country clubs in this country right now. But they put all those kinds of things that used to be public services behind a paywall because then they could just say, well, you can't pay, or this is a private club. It doesn't matter if you can pay. We're not going to allow you in. It's our choice. It's not a public service. It's not a government run thing. Just so black people wouldn't have access. But over time, the cost of these services rose higher and higher until most white people cannot afford them. But it's not just that. I mean, this idea goes all the way back to things like Social Security. Do you know white people refused to vote it through back during the New Deal until 2 groups of people were not eligible? Domestic labor, so that would be like maids, and agriculture workers who didn't own the land. So in other words, if you were a sharecropper, like most black people in the South, or a maid, like the women, you couldn't get Social Security. Once they put those provisions in, all of a sudden, they could have it all day long. White people in this country have always been obsessed with the idea of black people not having things. And that's why they're in the mess that they're in. It's kind of nice to be able to say what I want on here. The reason why countries, the Scandinavian ones, Denmark and Sweden and whatnot, have such great policies is in part because those countries are homogenous, or mostly so. and they're not trying to investigate who's benefiting from the free child care and the universal health care and all that. They are moving on. We could have a great standard of living in this country, but white people are so obsessed, so angry at the idea other people who are not white are going to have that same great standard of living. They would rather live in squalor. It's why the Affordable Health Care Act got gutted. The utter terror that people who don't look like you are going to be able to live decently. What you pay for. I mean, politicians have tried to convince white voters for years. This is in their interest. It was in their interest to not have to pay for these goods and services. And now you fell for it. They convinced you it was communist or socialist to have a decent standard of living, to have the taxes that you pay go to something other than endless war, to actually go towards the maintenance of the nation and making our lives better. But, I hope you enjoy it. Rather than letting everybody have a turn with the ball, you've decided to pop the ball and you're complaining, there's no ball, there's no ball. Indeed, there's not. And if we got a ball tomorrow, and you saw the black people and others playing with it, you'd probably pop it again. So there's a direct correlation. It's not that black problems are just starting to suddenly leak over and affect white people. It's that the intentional negative economic and social policies white people put in place to oppress black people have now rebounded on them. Everything people complain about nowadays. How come there are no more third spaces? How come we don't have anywhere to go but work and school? How come we can't afford property? How come this and how come that? All of those have a direct correlation to post-integration policies and choices. Why is college so expensive? Racism. Black people started going and they raised the tuition out of all scope. It used to be practically free to go to school. How come I can't find a decent job? Racism. The minute black people integrated those unions for the factories that have been operating in this nation for decades, and black people could only be non-unionized workers or just unskilled labor, the minute we finally broke into the unions, that is when they began migrating out of cities like Detroit, first into the South for white cities, and then eventually overseas. You thought you were winning. And the hollowing out of Chicago and Detroit and etc. don't just affect black people. The reverberations of that crisis have affected the entire Midwest, and look at the condition of the Rust Belt today. The hole you dig for somebody else will be the one you fall in. That's literally biblical. If people had focused on trying to get the whole standard of living for the country up, even if they had just focused on their own ends, but not tried to punish anyone else, this whole country would be in a better position today. And now look, I hope this serves as a valuable lesson to you. It probably won't. Because that's why the last election went the way it went. They're still trying to convince you somebody else is to blame for the problems that are self-engineered. And they try to convince you that by punishing someone else, the mysterious boogeyman stole your cheese. And if you beat him up, if you cut his wages, if you deport him, you'll get your cheese back. It's not true. This learning curve is getting steeper and steeper, though. I am genuinely interested to see what happens on Red Note next. I think this will be the first time a lot of Americans have unfettered, unpropagandized access to so many citizens from a nation we've been taught is bad. That inherently they're doing things wrong and that they're oppressed and we need to help them and save them. This will be the first time a lot of Americans have had that much direct contact. And the puzzle pieces are starting to click into place. This might be the making of something. We will see. That's it. Like and follow for more. As long as you can. I hope it's longer than we think.
Has consequences.
Let me make something crystal clear. We're going to fuck you over. Okay? Like, clear as day. I'm not going to hide this from you. I'm going to tell you every single way I'm going to make your life harder. Yeah. Okay. And again, you're cool with, like, shit getting more expensive, schools getting shut down, like, your reproductive rights getting taken away. You're cool with all of those things. Dude, I said, yeah, lay it on me. Okay. Hey, me again. Hi. Life is fucking hard, right? Like, it is way harder than it was. And you guys said, like, you were gonna help us out. So I'm curious, where that's gonna come in. Oh, yeah, we're not gonna fucking help you,
Well. Egg prices are at an all-time high 3 fucking days into Donald Trump's presidency. Have you figured it out yet, you fuckwits? He played you. You fucking idiots believed it when the billionaire who said he'd never heard the word grocery before, when he said, "I'll help you, I care about you." And look where it fucking got you. Those of us who've been paying attention understand that rising egg prices in the U.S. are directly related to rising avian flu cases in chickens in the U.S. There were 12 million cases in the last 30 days. We also know that the second one chicken gets infected in a flock, you have to cull the entire fucking flock. So I'm sure your dipshit president is doing something bold and daring to help fight this epidemic, right? Fuck no. He directed the Health and Human Services Department to pause all releases to the public on the matter. He's hiding it. So here's what I'm gonna do. Every time he hides some shit like this, I'm going to take it and drag it directly into the fucking light and make all you stupid fucks look at it. Because you don't get to hide what you did to us.
53 days. 53 days is all that it took in 1930s Germany for a man with a little mustache to dismantle a democracy. And here we are, partway through day 4, and look at what's already being unwound. In no particular order and by no means an even remotely exhaustive list, here are some of the things that have happened. We've seen a lot of people talking about the revocation of the Equal Employment Opportunity Order. That has a lot to do with how the EEOC operates. We have seen federal DEI employees being laid off. But not just that, today we have seen that federal employees that are still working are being told that they must report DEI people who are still working, that are hiding, that are undercover. And if they don't do that, there will be serious repercussions. That's not normal. We have seen that the media is being manipulated and that social media is very much being manipulated. This app went down, and when it came back, it was totally uncanny valley. We've seen a lot of weird stuff on Meta. And last night on Google, if you searched, the list of US presidents, Joe Biden was missing, and we have receipts on that. A bishop spoke to the president and others, asking for kindness and gentleness, and she was excoriated by Republican leaders who historically I've thought it as being somewhat moderate. That's not normal. The CDC has been told that they are no longer allowed to release critical information to the public without it going through the president. That is not safe and that is not normal. Passports are now allowed to only have male or female. I would just like to say, if you're trans and you're seeing this, your validity is not controlled by any executive order. I see you and you are valid. A person who's not even part of our government stood on a stage and threw up a Yahtzee salute. And we have people gaslighting us and saying, that's not what you saw. And meanwhile, on the very far right, we have white supremacists standing there going, yes, we are back. And that's not normal. If you're a liberal, if you're a leftist, or if you're a moderate and you are saying, is it time for me to get involved? Should I be paying more attention? The answer is yes. Yes, you should. Find a group, build a community, start getting involved, start paying attention. It is getting really scary out there, and it was already pretty scary. They're talking about deporting people who were born here. And in the case of the bishop, they're talking about people who weren't just born here, but whose parents were born here, whose grandparents were born here, etc. This isn't normal. This isn't even remotely normal. 53 days. If this is day 4, what does it look like tomorrow? Be safe out there. Be careful.